Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Samurai 8 Chapter 26, and it was a fun chapter. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was kind of predictable in a sense, because, I don't know, I guess just certain plot points coming up into it, I see where the path is being laid, and I see where things are going, but overall I did enjoy it. So we start off with Hachimaru basically showing that he learned a lesson from the last time he faced those other samurai and An got captured. This time, he's not letting any of that happen. He whacks Kotsuga right in the face, and before even Daruma could get to him, and it just shows that he's been learning and soaking all this stuff up, all this information, and all the lessons that he's been getting, even since they got onto this planet. So the general tone from all of the samurai, even our main characters and all the characters that are not even related to the main set of characters, is just overall confusion. So you got Ben, who is clearly a bad guy and clearly a criminal who has outright said he just wants to collect their keys, and then Kotsuga, who is a traitor now, and they're all very, very confused about this. And aside from Hachimaru, and obviously Hachimaru has to be upset because, you know, he's the main character, but Ryu, who was introduced with Kotsuga, he's pretty confused about all this because he thought that Kotsuga was a really good guy, and he's a little naive in that sense because he's got amnesia, but at the same time, Kotsuga was kind of helping him out with some stuff. So it's a conflicting situation, and they're really gonna have to hammer this out. So because An couldn't be captured, they have to kind of switch up the plan, and so Ben and Kotsuga summon a bunch of these holders, but they're humanoid, and they all start coming out of the ground like zombies. And it turns out that the planet, I think it's the planet they're on, Kenka, is actually a planet that was known for just dumping holders and disposal of these holders. And then so Ben took all those holders apparently and then reworked them to his own devices. So now they're all kind of having to battle it out with a bunch of these zombie robots, and dealing with that, Hachimaru's getting talked at by Kotsuga, and Daruma's having to deal with Benkei. So basically the entire chapter, Kotsuga is spouting this whole thing about not trusting people and saying that you're just pretending to be a samurai, Hachimaru. You're not really one. You just he's really downplaying Hachimaru's involvement in all this, and basically saying hey, don't trust the cat guy. You can't really trust anybody. He nails in again that money is the only thing that's worth trusting, and he obviously has some severe baggage that he's carrying. And we get a little bit of a taste of his backstory with it's presumably it's his parents. We only see silhouettes of them, but it's them talking about how he's probably not going to be able to become a samurai. If he tried to do the seppuku ceremony to turn himself into a samurai, he probably would die. So he's just not even worth it. And they talk about getting a new kid. Basically, they're casting him aside. So it's clear he has abandonment issues. He has trust issues, and it's a pretty cut and dry situation for him. So obviously he only trusts money, and since Benkei is kind of the money guy or whatever, it's clear where their partnership kind of goes, and ultimately Kotsuga doesn't really want to be a bad guy or a criminal. It's just he doesn't know any other way at this point, which honestly is a little bit predictable, and also just I don't mind cliches every once in a while, so I'm all right with him being this way right now. Clearly Hachimaru is going to turn him, and he made this whole thing about there were little inklings about oh, he's not really a good guy, don't trust him, and I don't think that they weren't subtle enough that you wouldn't have seen them at all, but they also weren't right in your face, but they were up there enough that it's clear that he is a good guy at heart, and he's just in a bad situation. So I do think that eventually he will come back to the group, and it'll be okay, hey, they all have a heart-to-heart. Ben gets taken care of. Maybe he gets taken off by space police. I don't know how they're... I do not know how their in law enforcement for space works, but he gets taken off. Everything ends up being hunky-dory, and I honestly... Despite them saying that he would probably die from becoming a samurai, I think he might actually be able to do it at one point. It would kind of bring things like full circle. So like he's got trust issues and abandonment issues. So it's like, oh, he was told that he would probably die. So maybe he is like scared to become a samurai. So he doesn't want to risk his own life. But like eventually with Ryu and Hachimaru and everybody, like he kind of like takes that plunge. In any event, Hachimaru takes on Kotsuga, and Daruma takes on Ben. And Daruma, I don't know if he's ever used this technique before, but he uses like it's like a dog paddle move, or at least that's what it's called. And it's basically, it changes like the electromagnetic something magnetic force, and he can send his opponents flying in a direction to essentially gain some space between them, but he can also use it to his advantage by like flinging Ben up into the air, and then he can charge after him. There's not really much to go on for that other than the fact that one, they're just kind of like putting on their armor, and Ben's spouting more and more about how he's going to take Daruma and everybody else's keys. Meanwhile, while all the like chaos is ensuing, the sniper guy is still there, and presumably the I forget what their names are, but like that other samurai and his princess are on their way. But he's like the sniper guy is like, I should probably help out a little bit, but then all of a sudden the zombie holders start popping up around him, so he's in no trouble of himself. So he is not even safe himself. We continue on with Kotsuga spouting more and more about Hachimaru and how like, oh, he might be a disappointment. If he's a disappointment, Daruma might just cast him aside. And clearly he's projecting. Again, his parents like were like throwing him aside essentially because he couldn't become a samurai and become the head of his family and all that. So he's clearly projecting his own abandonment issues onto Hachimaru. That being said, there is some weird, like, they keep talking about the cat samurai and how he shouldn't be trusted, and it feels like they're setting up some, like, Daruma having a darker past. Like, obviously we know some stuff with, like, Ata and the Lady Baku or Princess Baku. So clearly there's something there, but they keep kind of bringing it up a little bit at a time. And I feel like the mystery samurai and princess also were kind of hinting in that too. So I feel like at some point we're going to get to a point where it's like Hachimaru has to ask Daruma, what the heck? Why don't you come up front with like all of your stuff so that way we can get it all out onto the table and just deal with it. In any event, as Kotsuga is shouting at Hachimaru, a giant holder shows up and just like starts firing out rockets out of its back, and it's actually really cool. So it's like this, like you got all these kind of zombie holders all over the place, but then this giant one pops up and has it's like one of those military ones where it's like a bunch of the rockets coming out of it. Not rockets, but like missile kind of a thing. So it's really cool looking, and you got Hachimaru and on Hayataro, and then a couple of other samurai, and they have to put up some barriers to block it, and Hachimaru's not having any of that. As he's getting talked at by Kotsuga, he jumps up in the sky and then slices that giant holder right in half. It's actually a very cool couple of panels. And during all this, he kind of reaffirms in his own head that he trusts Daruma no matter what. He clearly he knows that there's something going on, but like he's got no reason not to trust Daruma. And ultimately, he closes the gap between him and Kotsuga and says, hey, listen, if anybody's going to decide that I'm a failure, it's going to be, or a disappointment, it's going to be him or himself. So he will decide that once he crosses that bridge. And that's the end of the chapter. So my biggest takeaways from this is that Daruma has some stuff that they're going to have to keep bringing up because whatever. Ryu, again, I have a feeling that Ryu will be one of the keys that they're looking for once he gets his memories back and he stops being all forgetful. I think he'll be one. I hesitate to say that Kotsuga will become a key himself because he's not currently a samurai and he clearly has a very low chance of becoming one, but who knows, maybe he does the ceremony and he ends up being like the last key or something like that, fulfilling his dream of becoming a samurai and kind of proving his parents and everybody else wrong. And ultimately, he will rejoin the group. I do not see him being, like, a bad person this entire time. I think there will probably be, whether it's in the next chapter or the chapter after that, there will probably come a time when he is on the ground crying and is like, hey, do you really think I can be a samurai too? Blah, 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 blah. Even if it never happens and he just comes to term with that, or whether he eventually does do it much later down the line. Either way, he'll kind of reconcile with the group and it'll be chill. I'm still kind of on the fence about how I feel about the samurai and princess that are on their way to the area with the sniper. So, like, are they, like, if once Benkei is defeated and Kotsuga is, like, redeemed, I guess, unless he doesn't get redeemed, are they the law enforcement then? Are they coming, like, clearly Benkei is their target? So, like, are they a law enforcement kind of samurai and princess where it's like, okay, they're locking down criminals and they have a list of people that, like, they're gonna go after? Or is it the kind of thing where it's just like they're kind of maybe criminals themselves? It's interesting. I wonder how far. I wonder when they're gonna cross that bridge. Clearly, they just gotta beat Ben right away. They gotta get that out of the way first. Like, redeem Kotsuga, and then just bring it full circle so that the battling ends, and then they'll show up. Well, those are all my thoughts about this chapter. What did you guys think? Let me know down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you will get all the notifications when I upload. I will see you guys in another video. So long!